Welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing great out there, Heat Nation. If you guys could subscribe here, that'd mean a lot to me. If you guys could also subscribe to the Tobin and Leroy Show, which you can watch on YouTube and Twitch. Miami 56 WQAM is the channel. Weekdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Miami Heat will be back in action on Friday. They'll be at practice tomorrow as they get gathered. Some really good stuff. Seeing Jimmy Butler back active on Instagram, back working out, getting into the night shoots, and seemingly working his way back. I mean, he's been pretty quiet on social media for a guy who posts every day. He's been away from the team, dealing with the loss of a family member. So it's great to see Jimmy Butler looking like he's getting back to some normalcy. It appears like he is going to be back with the team and back practicing. I guess we'll get an answer on that tomorrow. Officially, if he'll be ready to return to the team. But I would say based on, I'm not playing Blues Clues here. I would just say, based on the social media activity, it would appear like somebody who is ready to get back to work, and they need him. I talked about this. I did a thing for Bleacher Report, a stream discussing the Miami Heat's second half of the season. And honestly, the first key for me, there can't be any figuring it out. When Jimmy Butler gets back, it's got to go back to Jimmy Butler's team, let him flourish, let him do his thing, and they got to figure everything else out from there, because it did feel like this was a Heat team that was starting to put some things together and get things in a positive direction. So I'd like to see things continue in that place, but seeing Jimmy back working again was truly, truly great to see. And it is funny because I'm seeing a lot of material from the All-Star games and interviews with Tatum and Giannis, and I'm like, it is funny. Jimmy Butler's the only honest man in basketball, because we have all these people out here trying to figure out the All-Star game. How do we fix this? How do we get this right? It's like, you don't. It's stupid. It's an All-Star game. That's a pickup game. You can put gimmicks on it every now and then that may fix it for a year. This was just an uncompetitive game from the start. It was basically a 20, 30-point game the entire way, and nothing was changing in that regard. So I just thought it was funny that everybody is now getting it from the players. There's players whispering, saying, oh, they want to get paid for the All-Star game. Anthony Edwards is saying nobody's coming here and being competitive. And this is from like a generation of 23-year-old, 24-year-old players. And Jimmy Butler was here telling you, I just want the vacation. I don't want you guys putting me in the All-Star game to begin with. So it's been a funny thing to see that evolution now of like everybody is putting more of a I don't want to be in the All-Star game type of deal, and I want to get paid for this. If I was the NBA, I wouldn't pay for them to go to the. It's like, dude, first of all, the All-Star game and being an All-Star is financial incentive as it is. It's a great negotiating chip for any contract that you get. But to say now you also need to get paid, because I'm going to tell you something, just as a principle on things, I'm going to be like, as soon as you pay the NBA players, then they're going to be like, you're not paying me enough for this, and the games are still going to suck. So I just think it's one of these solutions, like, it's not a great product. It's not something I think people care about as much anymore. It's not as special to see all these guys together anymore. There's not a heat of competitiveness. Most of these guys are friends. Our own big man included. He's very close to Tatum and Mitchell and guys that he's chasing in the standings, Damian Lillard. So it just is what it is. Jimmy was the only one who had the guts to just basically tell you he didn't want to go in the first place. Now everybody is whispering voice about it. But one guy I think who was still happy to be there was Bam. And Bam had some interesting quotes about the All-Star game. I'm sorry, not about the All-Star game, about his captaincy. This was an article from Anthony Chang. And I found this to be surprising to hear him say. Not that Bam's not an honest guy. He will just put stuff bluntly. I would say that. But to put it this bluntly was interesting, because there was a lot of talk over the last week about Bam's captaincy because of the Jaylen Brown situation and the fact that, you had this thing with Duncan Robinson. A lot of people on social media got mad at the Miami Heat because nobody stepped up for Duncan Robinson, even though Duncan Robinson seemed to stand on his own business and handle himself well. But Bam was asked about what his first few months as captain has been, and his quote to Anthony was, "This bleep sucks. You can quote me on that. This bleep sucks." And I really, I stared at the screen and I'm like, he said that. This bleep sucks. And then doubles down and says, "You can quote me on that. This bleep sucks." And he goes on to say to Anthony, he says, "Because you got to understand how to translate messages to everybody, because everybody is different. Everybody has their own stuff going on. I got my own stuff going on in my mind and how I want to play and how I want to affect the game. And 14 other guys do too. So trying to get 14 other guys to buy into your message and how you're saying it to get them to buy into what the coach is saying is tough, because guys got dilemmas and guys got feelings." So it's interesting to hear Bam say that, because here's the thing with the Heat captain thing and why it's different from having Udonis Haslem as your captain, because Udonis Haslem, his agenda really at the point of his career was always just caring about other guys and playing the right way. And there wasn't, even though Udonis probably did want to play more than he did, it was never an idea of I have these budding aspirations anymore, because the championships are behind him, the accolades, the championships that he's going to be an integral part of the playing time are behind him. And he could put a lot of that energy and focus into what his teammates are dealing with or what his teammates are feeling, and put everything into it. And also, he could talk to the stars at a way and then still give the same energy to Jamal Cain and Cole Swider, because they're undrafted guys and they're part of his journey too. And I think with Bam, first of all, not as vocal as UD, naturally. He's been very open about that. That's not the way he leads. It's not how he does this. I also think Bam doesn't have much of, and I want to be clear when I say this, I don't think Bam is a soft player. Bam doesn't play soft. He plays very hard. He's one of the best defenders. He's a fierce competitor. But I don't think he's mean-spirited. And I don't think he's got like that. I don't think he's got like that will slap you in the face type of mentality that UD does. I don't think that UD will hold some grudges. Like it's like Bam will look at stuff because it's like when the last story about the Bill Russell thing, right? Where it's like UD is so psychotic about this grudges of things. He'll tell Bill Russell, bleep Bill Russell. And I don't think that's Bam. I don't think that's the way that he carries himself. He's a different type of guy. That's okay. Guys can be different. You're not going to replace a Udonis Haslem in that regard. He's one of one. So UD had some quotes in this to Anthony where he says, it's been a work in progress. But the thing about it is he cares. He cares about everybody. He cares about the team. He cares about the organization. He cares about the guys, and he cares about winning. So that's the thing about being captain. You have to be selfless, not selfish. And he's very selfless. That's the hardest part. So he's got that covered. I think it's just a matter of UD and Bam getting that whole being the rah-rah guy and getting everybody together and on the same page. And I think with Bam, it's a little of like, but I also want to be maybe the best player on this team, and I want to be the face of this franchise, and I want to be the go-to guy, and I also have to be the selfless leader. And maybe me taking all these mid-range jumpers isn't the way to go. It should be, no, it's still Jimmy's team. My time will come. It is a tough thing. And you know, Bam coming into the fold this year, I figured that he was going to get that mantle because he's been looked upon as the Heat culture guy. I'm telling you, since he was 19 years old, Udonis Haslem, Alonzo Mourning, Dwayne Wade. I remember asking them because I was, asking about Bam Adebayo before a lot of guys. Probably the way I would about Nico right now. I'm asking guys about him. Like I was asking Darrell Wright about Nikola Jovic the other day. It's like, why am I asking him about Nikola Jovic? Because I just want to get people's opinion. And I remember asking Udonis and D Wade and Alonzo about him, and they all just said, like, the guy he's inspiring by the way that he works his ass off, and he's about the things the organization is about. But that doesn't always mean you're going to be the most vocal guy in the world. So I found that to be some interesting stuff. He also did mention about the Jaylen Brown thing, Haslam, that they did speak about that. And he was discussing this, and he said he had also talked about the Jaylen Brown thing, which obviously was very hotly contested by a lot of Heat fans, and it said that I think that was one of those things that bothered Bam as a captain. It's one of those situations where as a captain, you have a decision to make, but it's also a close game, and you can't get kicked out, and you have to protect your guys and be there for your guys. Bam cares, and that was a situation where as a captain, I think he wanted to intervene a little bit more and be a little bit more involved, but he understood that the bigger picture was to win the basketball game, and I respect that about Bam. He called me, we talked about it, and he wants to be the best version of himself for the team. So, and I think one of the things that was lost on that with a lot of the Heat fans is, Bam's first response to that was like, get a bucket and one, keep your team fighting after you had the foul shots from Duncan Robinson. The fight from that team was really, really good. And it's not like they laid down, which is why I didn't think that situation was as big a deal as it was with the whole nobody stepped up for Duncan Robinson. That, and also Duncan Robinson basically stuffed Jaylen Brown into a verbal locker and told him, you're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. So, very interesting stuff from Bam Adebayo. Always appreciate the guy's honesty, and a really great piece by Anthony Chang on where his captaincy has been in year one as the captain of the Miami Heat.